The Philadelphia defensive coordinator Vic Fangio has coached against Patrick Mahomes 9 times previously to today. Obviously, the Super Bowl will be the 10th time that they go head-to-head. The first 9 times didn't exactly go too well for Vic Fangio. These are Patrick Mahomes' numbers, and the real stat that's just going to stand out is 9 wins, 0 losses for Patrick Mahomes. He's undefeated against Fangio. The overall passing numbers are very good. Over 2,000 yards in the 9 games isn't crazy. Also, completion percentage isn't crazy, but 13 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Still a really good statistical numbers from Mahomes. Passer rating over 100, although worth mentioning, Patrick Mahomes' career passer rating is 102.1. However, I think when we go into the games, I actually think it's a little bit even better in Mahomes' favor. So let's talk about it. Let's go game by game. I'm not going to show film from every game, but I'll show film from at least every year they played each other, because it's worth mentioning, 9-0 seems tough, but let's not forget, a good chunk of these games, in fact, 6 of these games, was when Fangio was with the Denver Broncos as their head coach, and they just did not have any offense whatsoever. Fangio was definitely a defensive-minded head coach. The first time they went up against each other, so what I'm going to do for each of these is say the year and week, the score, and then Mahomes' stats at the bottom. There's an asterisk on this one, though, because you see Mahomes was very good, 10 for 11, 76 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, for a passer rating of 125.8, but he got hurt in this game. This was actually the quarterback sneak game where he gets hurt, and now they don't do quarterback sneaks anymore. No issue for the Chiefs. They still won 30-6, and Mahomes played well when he was out there. They played again in Week 15, and once again, it was domination for the Kansas City Chiefs. They won 22-3, and Mahomes this time, the numbers were fantastic. Over 10 yards, or actually exactly 10 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, did have a pick, but still a passer rating of 115.7. One part of it was this, where you're going to see that it's a zone coverage play, and Tyreek Hill is running a deep shot. This was, if you remember, back in 2019, this was kind of still before teams kind of woke up and said, okay, you can never play single safety deep against Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Because anytime Tyreek Hill had a one-on-one matchup and Mahomes was the quarterback, they're scoring touchdowns. As you see on this one, Tyreek Hill is going to run a really good route here. He does, in fact, score a touchdown on this play. Mahomes, he's never going to miss those kind of things. There's also, plays you see like on this one where it's zone coverage. This is a Travis Kelce play. He's so good against zone coverage. As you see, Mahomes is going to run this play action. It's not even played horrible by the Broncos, but it's Travis Kelce doing Travis Kelce stuff. This is what the Chiefs can do, and it's what they were able to do in these games. Vic Fangio likes to play some 2 safety deep coverages, and then will drop a safety down. That's when they were able to take advantage with the Tyreek Hill deep shots, and when they weren't doing that, or even when they were, they could still work over the middle with Travis Kelce when the Broncos play this zone coverage. There really wasn't an answer those first couple of times. The following year, 2020, this is the year that we're still in the era of teams aren't, this is before the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay when Todd Bowles did cover 2-man a lot and the Chiefs just didn't have an answer. You still have, kind of the whole playbook open against Patrick Mahomes, and you see, first time they played, it did not go very well for Denver, 43-16. Mahomes didn't even throw a ton, only 23 attempts, but still had 200 yards, a touchdown, no picks, very good passer rating. The second time was a closer score in Week 13, but I remember actually after this game, when they won, Travis Kelce said, hey, we got to give credit to the other side. The Raiders are a good team. That was kind of the joke, was like, they're so good, they're not even sure who they're playing against. They're because they were winning seemingly every game that year until the Super Bowl. You see, though, Mahomes' numbers, not otherworldly because he had 40 attempts, but still over 300 yards. Again, no interceptions there, and they got the win. But going over to the film, we started to see some seeds of Fangio trying new stuff. So we saw him doing this coverage, cover 2-man, the one that I said Todd Bowles kind of really, once he did that in the Super Bowl, everyone started doing it against the Chiefs. Fangio did try this when they were playing, especially in that second matchup. This is a 3rd down and 4. You see Mahomes is going to take the snap, and he's going to fire one right here, and this is not going to work out. It looked like it was tipped, so that helps, but still, they were able to get a stop there. The issue is you still have to have someone who can stop Travis Kelce in these situations one-on-one. As you see on this play, it's not going to happen. So, that's kind of meant that Fangio could only do this so much. If you remember, I'm bringing up that Tampa Bay game because it's hard to, the Chiefs really are a before and after with that game. In that Tampa Bay game, they had, the Buccaneers had Levante David who could do this. So that's part of what made that coverage work so well against the Kansas City Chiefs. The following year, we finally saw Fangio kind of get a win here. Not with the score. It was 22-9. The Broncos still struggled to move the ball at all. But the overall stats for Mahomes were not great in this one. 15 for 29, 184 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception with a sub-60 passer rating. Remember, this was kind of the year where we're like, is Mahomes okay? Is Mahomes, what's going on with Mahomes? Has he been figured out? That was the narrative this season. The second time they played, the Chiefs still won by 14. Mahomes' stats, much better, a 93.9 passer rating, but still not those godly Mahomes stats that we're used to, right? This is what kind of happened so this play is going to be a man coverage play. And in fact, they only have a single safety deep on this one. So they're definitely playing a bit aggressive. They're trusting that they can win their one-on-ones, which is not what you usually would do against the Chiefs in years past. Here, Patrick Mahomes is going to, this is a contested play, a bit of a high throw, ends up being intercepted. Looked like Mahomes wanted to go to Kelsey first, then had to get over to Tyreek Hill. So that made that a little bit tougher. Of course, bad break for Mahomes that the ball gets tipped up and intercepted. That was the interception of the game. So Mahomes still wasn't horrible in this one, but they were able to limit Mahomes a bit in these two games by just contesting the throws more, playing more man coverage, and being able to basically force the Chiefs to have to be a little better than they had in years past. But ultimately, Chiefs still won both of those games. That's kind of it for the Denver side of things. After the 6th victory over the Denver Broncos for Mahomes, Fangio was fired, and then he said he was going to take the year off, but ultimately took a special consultant role with the Philadelphia Eagles, and even signed a deal when the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl. He signed a contract to help out the Philadelphia Eagles try and win that Super Bowl. So I'm including those numbers in all of this. If that's unfair, then that's unfair. But this is how Mahomes played in the Super Bowl against Vic Fangio. It's a little different, right? It's saying because Fangio was not the play caller, Fangio was not the coordinator. He was simply just an assistant. But still, we'll at least talk about it nonetheless. This was definitely a dominant day by Mahomes. The yards per attempt, again, weren't outstanding in this one. I think a lot of people forget he only had 182 passing yards in this game, despite the fact that they scored 38. Remember, there was a defensive score in there as well. But the 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating of 131, very efficient, only 6 incompletions in this game. Mahomes was really good, even if the numbers might not be outstanding in terms of total yards. There was a lot of stuff like this. The Eagles that year played a lot of this zone coverage, and you see Kelsey running this route over the middle. To be honest, it's very similar to early Denver Broncos stuff against Fangio. As you see, Mahomes is going to take the snap. It feels too easy, even though it's actually not horrible defense either that time, right? But it's what Mahomes can do. So, okay, don't know how much you want to factor that in, but it's worth mentioning in the video, if nothing else, right? Then Fangio became the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins the following season. He played he didn't play, but he coached against Patrick Mahomes twice that season, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. The regular season game, you see, once again, it wasn't Mahomes' crazy yards per play game, but still very efficient. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They won by 7 points. This was actually in Germany, and Mahomes had a passer rating of over 105 in this game. Again, this is a lot of what they were doing, where it's going to be a zone coverage concept, and you see on this play, they just have really kind of an exotic play to try and beat this zone coverage. And this is what the Chiefs do so well, is they scheme up against zone coverage, and that's what Fangio likes to do ultimately at the end of the day. He wants to play zone coverage. They'll play some man, but ultimately this is what they want to do. And as you see, Mahomes, when he takes the snap, this concept works out really well, able to make the throw, they pick up a big gain. This is what the Chiefs do now, right? We're now kind of getting into the era where this is similar to, what both of these teams are. Of course, the Dolphins are not going to be playing in this game. It's going to be the Eagles, obviously, but you get the idea. Finally, the most recent time that they played, there's actually been twice now where the last game of the season Fangio coached, the Chiefs beat him and then he lost his job because that's what happened with the Dolphins. The Chiefs won 26-7, and this was not a bad Fangio performance. I didn't show much film, but they played a lot of man coverage just because it was a snow game. That's kind of all they had to do. Not really too many takeaways there. Mahomes didn't have otherworldly numbers, but still was fine given the snowy conditions. So that's kind of my main thoughts on all this. So yeah, those were the 9 times Fangio coached against Patrick Mahomes. The numbers are roughly the same numbers. They're a little bit lower if you take out the Super Bowl, but also you had one game where Mahomes' stats were a lot worse than I think they should have been. That game when he had a sub-60 passer rating, and then you also had a snow game in there as well, which always helps the defense. So as a whole, ultimately I think Patrick Mahomes does well against this defense, even if the numbers are kind of the same. The 9-0 is the best number you look at, and then definitely the Chiefs are trying to make it 10-0. The Eagles have to try and do something to make that change. I'm interested in this because, what does this mean moving forward? Because these are different teams. It's hard to say too much. I think the one thing you look at is that Andy Reid knows how to scheme guys open against this zone coverage play. They can dink and dunk if they want to. They have that ability. They don't really have the deep threat that teams used to have, that they used to have with Tyreek Hill in a lot of those games. So because of that, maybe you see a bit more of an aggressive Vic Fangio coaching style. And we have seen Fangio in the past try new things. We've seen him try cover 2-man, cover 1-man. We've seen him do this. I think it would be a little foolish to say he's not even willing to change things. And the one thing you like about Fangio is he's just coached against Mahomes a lot. And you have to feel like that's an advantage, although it's also an advantage the other way around. The Chiefs' offensive coaching knows how to beat him, and so because of that, maybe you have to do something differently. So this number, what I'm going to do here is I do this every year. It's just for fun. Don't take it too seriously, but I'm going to give a plus or minus 5 at the end of each of these Super Bowl preview videos, and then I'm going to continue to make this list throughout the season or throughout the until the Super Bowl happens, just kind of as a fun exercise. So you see Hurts' first Super Bowl, I'm going to give it plus 3 Eagles. I forgot to mention that when I made that video, but that feels fair. He played really well. There's reason for optimism. Here though, I'm going to go the other way, plus 3 for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game, just because I do think that, Mahomes has, for the most part, gotten the better of Fangio. He schemes this up well, and if the Eagles do want to try something differently, well, then they're going to have to completely do something they don't typically do. So the fact that Mahomes has never lost, you have to feel like that's a positive. Again, don't take the numbers too seriously. That's just a thing for fun. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.